Hello, this is Pam from Pam's Treasured Pages, and I am back to finish putting this journal together. So I have the outside done. I did a video on how I did the outside, so if you'd like to watch that, it's on my channel. Now I'm going to start with the putting in the signatures. I have 5 signatures. Usually I do a 2-inch spine, but I do have a lot of things to put in this journal, so I decided to go ahead and make a 3-inch spine. That may have been a mistake, but we'll see. So the next step in putting my signatures in here, I had to choose the papers I wanted to put on the inside covers, and this is the page I picked. It's an 8 by 11. I cut it in half, rounded the edges. I will ink the edges, and that'll go on each side. The spine, since I have a 3-inch spine, I cut out a piece of paper that was 3, 2, and 2. So 7 inches wide. Then I scored at 2 inches and 2 inches to make a 3-inch center, which will be where I will sew my signatures in. So then 5 signatures. Actually, I have that upside down. So then I need to figure out where are my holes going to be to sew. So I turned this over. I measured 1 inch down from the top, marked it on both sides, drew a line across. I did the same thing for the other side. I marked it at 1 inch and did a line across. Then I needed to find my center. So I measured at 8.5. So I marked the center at 4 1/4. So I marked a spot on this side, drew a line across. Since I have 5 signatures, I took my ruler, and since it's 3 inches, you can see 3 inches, I just marked it at 1/2 inch intervals, which would give me 5 marks. I did that on both the other 2 lines. And then the next thing I need to do, well, I guess I don't need to do it, but I guess I will anyway. I'm going to draw a line straight down so I know where to punch my holes. That's a little off, but it's okay. Let me see if I can get it this way so I can see the lines better. And it's okay to mark the back because we will not see this. This will be glued in on the spine. Okay. So then at these intersections is where I'm going to punch my holes. So let me get my big crocodile so I can go toward the middle of the page. I'm going to put it on the smaller, the 1/8 diameter. And then everywhere where there's that little intersection, I'm going to punch these holes in. Okay, so there's that one. And if they're off a little bit, it won't matter. Okay, there's that one. I hope everyone's having a great day. It's kind of overcast here. A little rainy. My dogs won't go outside. They get to the door, and if it's sprinkling, they put on their brakes and go, whoop, nope, not me. I guess if I was them, I wouldn't want to go outside either. All right, so this is going to be where I'm going to sew. That, because it's 3 holes there, I will be doing a pamphlet stitch. I will make a little pattern so I can put in my signatures, so I can punch holes with my awl. So let me make a pattern for that, and I will be right back. So now that I have my pattern, and what I did is I measured it the same as my spine that I'm going to sew my signatures to, and punched holes in this pattern. I have my awl, which I'm going to use to punch the holes with. I decided to use the blue. I figured the blue would be pretty. It's waxed book thread, and that's what I like. The wax seems to hold up better. And then I have my needles, which I'll get probably this one right here. So I'm going to sew in my first signature. I usually always like to start, excuse me, at the back. Now, before you go any further, let's make sure that all of our pages are in the right direction. I don't want to have something upside down. I do that quite a bit, which these pages pretty much can be used in either direction. Some of them are directional. Okay. So then I'm going to take my pattern. I'm going to put it in the middle. And take my awl, and where I have that hole marked, I'm just going to punch a hole. Okay. And then I'm going to do that again at the top. And in the bottom of the hole. Okay. So now this signature is ready to sew in. Everything's in the right direction. I got my holes punched. So I'm going to need my pattern, my spine backing. To get my thread this right size, I usually measure 2.5, usually more than enough. Make sure I'm in the middle of the video so you can see what I'm doing. Okay, I like my threads to be on the spine, the inside. Now this does have a direction, but you're really not going to see it, so it really doesn't matter. You start from the middle, okay? So we're going to go in the middle one from the underside. Come up in the middle of the signature, if I can get it in the hole there. There we go. I'll pull that thread to, leaving some of the tail on this side to tie. I'm going to go back through, I usually go in the top, it doesn't really matter, top or bottom, and go through that hole in the spine. Kind of pull that. Then I'm going to go down through the back and then through the hole. Can't really show you that. Make sure I got some thread there. Okay, pull that back through. Make sure this is straight and not looped. Go back through. Now on this side, you got to make sure, now I don't know if you can see, but see how this thread is in the needle? I don't want that. So I'm going to pull it back some and see if I can pull that out. Okay, ouch, just stuck myself. And then pull that through. Take the needle off. Now I can pull this way. I like this long section to be in between the two loose ends. Kind of pull it snug, but not where it tears. And I go over, under, pull that tight, over, under, pull that tight, and then I can snip this off. All right, so we've got one signature in. So I'm going to finish sewing the signatures in, and then I'll be right back. All right, I'm back. I've got all 5 of my signatures in. Fixing to tie off the last one. One thing I wanted to mention was that when you're putting them in, make sure they're all even before you tie it. So these all look pretty well. So my last one, I'm going to put this underneath this string, so there's one on each side. Pull it tight and go over and under and over and under. I don't know why I say that every time, but I do. Even if I'm not videoing, I'm always like over, under, and trim that. All right, so on the inside of our signatures, we have just the strings showing in the middle. And then on our hidden spine, which we're going to glue in, is where we have the hidden section. So we're actually ready to to glue this onto our cover. I want to add one more thing. Most of the time, I didn't do it today, but I will double this piece to make it stronger. But I didn't do that today. Well, I guess I could. And I might do that. So let me do that. I'm going to cut another piece and glue it onto this, and I'll be right back. So actually, this is the first time I've doubled this after I sewed it. Usually I'll double it before, and then I'll have my thread showing. I kind of like this. Maybe it'll stay down smoother. So then the next step is to glue this into the spine. So I definitely will use my Fabri-Tac. I'm gonna spread this glue all across the back. Making sure I get all the edges. We're going to get the creases in a minute. I just want to make sure I get a lot of glue. The main and most important thing is before we manipulate the covers, bending it, we need to make sure this glue is dry. So I'm going to turn this over. I'm going to center it in the middle. So you can see I have the same amount of the top and the bottom showing. Make sure it covers all the way to the bend. And now what I'm going to do is press this glue down, burnish this into that back cover, even going in between the signatures and pressing this down. And just keep on pressing that down until I'm pretty sure that that glue is stuck real well. Because this is like the most important part, because you don't want this coming off of your mat board. So I'm gonna let this dry a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, my glue is pretty much dry. Next, I'm gonna glue my flaps down. I'm gonna put a small bead in that little fold, the little bend. And then glue all on the flap. Make sure I get all my little edges here. So then I'm gonna put my flap down, burnish it. Make sure that that really dries. In fact, I'm gonna take a bold folder. I'm gonna run it down this little bend. I did ink the upper edge of this back too. I didn't ink this because this is going to be covered. So I'm going to turn this around. I'll do the same thing to this side. I'll put a bead in the middle of the bend. And cover this. I don't know, I'd use a lot of glue on this. I just don't want it to come up. And then do the same thing like we did on the other side. Get that pressed down. Let's burnish this little fold. Make sure it gets down in that little corner. Okay, I'm gonna let this glue dry and I will be right back. Okay, it's been probably about 30 minutes. What I'm looking for is to make sure there's no gaps. When I close the cover, I want to make sure there's no gaps along the spine part or the flaps on each side. That looks pretty good. And then I will also kind of run my hand on the spine between the signatures. One more time. Like I said, this is what I think is the most important part. And then once we're pretty confident, then I will close my covers, front and the back. I will kind of bend them a little bit, make sure they're pretty flexible. Do the front and the back that way. And that's another reason I like this tape, is because it holds pretty well with all the manipulation. You have to kind of watch so you don't tear the fold on your papers. But I think when you double that paper, it helps to prevent the tearing. So then once we're pretty confident that that's all dry, then we can put on our covers. I will add, if you want to do a ribbon closure, you probably could do that under the front and the back before you put these on. Or sometimes when I've forgotten and I still want to add them, sometimes I will add a ribbon on the inside before I put on the paper on top of that. So I don't think I'm going to do a ribbon closure on this one. So we'll go ahead and add the front and the back. And like I told you previously, this is the papers that I've chosen to go on the front and the back. Okay, I'm gonna put this on this side. And then this on this side. I have forgotten to ink the edges, so I'm going to do that real quick. I don't know, I just find inked edges, getting rid of that white line really helps the, I think it looks better. You can do what you like. Junk journaling is all about doing what pleases you. And everyone has their own opinions, their own ideas of what they like. There's nothing wrong with that. You do you. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this onto the front. I'm gonna cover all the corners and the edges. Center it as best I can. And if you're off a little bit, who cares? Take my bone folder, kind of burnish that a little bit. I haven't decided yet if I was going to put pockets. We will see as we go. That's one good thing about making journals too. I get creative as I'm going. And I'm like, oh, I think this will look good. I'm sure you probably do that too. Or sometimes, oh, I like that the way it is. I'm going to leave that alone. Okay, so there's the front cover. And then the back cover, we'll do the same thing. Let me ink the edges a little bit. And we'll glue this one into spot place. I was telling some friends at work how it's so relaxing to cut and glue papers, and they just laughed. They just didn't understand that. And I don't know, I just enjoy doing this so much. Okay, we'll burnish that into place. And there, once that's good and dry, which won't be long, we have our signatures and our cover, and this thing is ready for the really fun part, decorating. So once I finish, I may do a flip through to show you what I've done. But there, it's done, ready. So I hope this helped you in making your journals. Again, I like this method the best because I just like the finish edge of this black tape. It just makes it look, to me, more finished. And really, it's easier than try to cover the whole book and fold it under. That's what I used to do all the time. So thank you so much for watching, and I will show you a flip through once I get through with decorating it. Thanks again for watching Pam's Treasured Pages.